Hey everyone, Jim Phoenix here, and today's special What's Cracking is special indeed. We've got a trifactor, we've got an award-winning writer, producer, voice actor, all-around great person to have. Wonderful hang. We've got none other than Wren Valentino coming. And at the end, that's right, we have a special offer. We're giving away 5 copies of his books. Go click on through to the other side. See you soon. Hit it. Hey everyone, Jim Phoenix here, and in today's What's Cracking, we've got a little bit of a trifactor. We've got an award-winning writer, film producer, and voice actor, and none other than Wren Valentino. Wren, pleased to meet you.
Thank you, sir. Very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're happy to be here? I'm excited to talk to you. I have to say, I may have looked up some of your stuff before coming on, more in depth than I usually do. And I love what I see. You're eclectic. It goes all over the place, but it's all polished. It's all well done. It's all gripping.
Wow, thank you.
What's your secret? What's your secret in juggling 3 different careers?
No sleep. No
sleep till Brooklyn. I think that's
no
Beastie
sleep
Boys.
till Brooklyn. Yeah. Just a couple things. Really, just a passion for telling stories would be, I think, above all, that kind of just drives me.
Right.
Really great support system that makes it all possible. And then just, I'm not the most self-disciplined, so just trying to adhere to the best time management that I can find that works. And just a curiosity about the world and people and their stories and how I can capture them and share them in some capacity, I think is really behind all of that, the productivity, if you will.
I think you nail it on the head. It's the being able to capture and tell the stories of people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that pushes a lot of us as artists. Even sometimes the story might be our own, but it's also I heard this about, or I love talking to people who live through something that no one believes them. And it's just getting that story. So what brought you into the world of art?
Oh, teachers, my teachers.
Really?
Yeah. I just, I don't come from a particularly creative family, which I'm sure they would all admit. And so, at the age of 7, my second grade teacher, Mrs. Carter, who I'll forever be indebted to, right? Because everybody has to have a Mrs. Carter at some point in their life, right?
Miss Richards. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And she asked us to write a Halloween story of all things. And I turned in a 5-page sort of mini epic about a woman. It was called The Blue Witch, and it was about a woman who didn't want to be a witch anymore. And it was this emotionally complex character that a 7-year-old probably had no business writing. And then she kept me after class, and I thought I was in trouble. And it was just to tell me that, to keep writing. And she reached out to my mom and said, he's really creative and can encourage this. And my mom saved up and got me a secondhand typewriter when I was 13, and I didn't know how to type. So I taught myself how to type. And then I published my first short story when I was 15. Wow. And just kept going from there. And but I think the Mrs. Carters in my life, I've had many great teachers that really saw something in me even before I did. Yeah. And in a world that doesn't always support creativity, I found that, luckily, that people just were like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And so just having all of that encouragement at a young age, I think gave me that sort of, I don't know if I call it fearless, but just more of that willingness to take risk and to do something that not everybody else was doing and tell stories. And I was a big reader too. I think
there you go.
Books definitely, brought me into this world.
Yeah, it's a combination. I think people don't give teachers enough credit for this, or mentors or peers sometimes. When a child is developing, if you encourage the imagination, they will flourish. Mm-hmm. The moment you say something negative about their imagination, they shut down forever.
Yeah.
Forever lost opportunity for that. I'm so glad you had someone to make it into a short story about a witch who no longer wants to be a witch. I'm pretty sure the other thing was we need to talk about, is everything okay at home? Right. I was imagining that story. And they asked me if everything was okay. I was at home. They called my mom.
Yeah.
No.
For sure.
No, I'm well, that's an amazing thing. And you taught yourself how to type on the old typewriters that you had to really pound those keys.
Yeah, Smith and Corona manual
Oh,
typewriter with
oh,
the red on, or the black on top and the red on bottom ribbon that you had
yes.
to change every so many pages.
I
So, yeah.
am very familiar with those. That's the reason why I destroyed so many keyboards once it went to the computers came out,
Yeah.
because you're like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
The key's like, no, stop hurting me. So you go from short story writing,
Yeah.
and then how do you transition that into film?
Well, interestingly enough, my background was in theater. I started
Oh,
working in theater at a very, very young age. Theater was such a great community for somebody who growing up didn't always fit in the wherever. And so it was such a great safe space, again, provided by teachers. And so theater was
okay.
really how I transitioned from film. The film is an interesting story of how I got into film. I'd written a stage play called Frozen Stars that was produced in this really like blink and you'll miss it theater in Chicago. I,
Right.
I kid you not, it was underneath a freeway overpass. So you
It's
had
by
the
the
freeway
elves.
above the theater. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think there was maybe 6 people a night in the audience, but
Oh,
a woman, God bless her to this day, named Belle Hernandez, who I knew as the Spanish teacher on Beverly Hills 90210. So I was a little starstruck. Happened to
oh,
be in town in Chicago. I was an undergrad at a college in Chicago, and I was so broke. I wrote Frozen Stars in the computer lab at the school because I couldn't afford
oh
a
my God.
computer. And fast forward, we self produced this play, and she happened to be in town for a Latino film festival. Had the night off. The play Frozen Stars was a Latina themed play,
Right.
and she saw a little blurb in the Chicago Reader and jumped in a taxi and came and saw our play. Went back to LA and wrote about it in like a Latino trade
Really?
publication. Yeah, and then 2 weeks later, I was on the phone with Miramax, and it was that crazy. And I didn't sell it to Miramax, but we ended up working with a subsidiary of Sony. But just that mention, that validity, that credibility that she gave me as a writer with something that was worth taking a look at,
Right.
um, opened up so many doors. Again, somebody stepping in and helping me in a really great way. And then it just kind of kickstarted it. And then they had hired a film director to direct Frozen Stars because, again, I came from theater. I wrote the screenplay, the adaptation, which they made me go through 32 rewrites for, but that's a story for another time for sure. Um, I
32. Wow.
and 2 nights before they went into production, the director left the project for another project, and they called me in a panic and said, "Is there any way you can direct this film because you're the only one who knows this?" And so I literally became a film director on accident by default because the original director stepped away, and I made everybody wear name tags the first day with their name and their title. And so I walked around. I was like, "Who are you?" Like, "I'm so and so. I'm the gaffer." "Great, nice to meet you. What do you do?" Like,
Yeah.
because I'm,
What's a gaffer?
yeah, I literally had to get film training like on the job. But I had a really awesome director of photography for Frozen Stars who carried me and that film through the process. The technical side of things, the performance side, I felt pretty confident in because of directing theater. Like I knew how to get,
Right.
but the technical side about lighting and all those, and we were shooting on 35 millimeter, so it was
Oh,
very
yeah.
technical. But it worked, and it's out in the world. So, and then from there, I found out very quickly that I prefer writing over directing, not just because of that experience, but and then the writing, screenwriting just started to really it again. It's another form of storytelling. It's
Right.
different than the fictional, the narrative storytelling on the page in terms of short stories and novels, but um, I think having all of those experiences on the technical side made me a better screenwriter because screenplays are so technical often, and you're really telling something in moving picture form. So it kind of informed each other. And then, yeah, and then the film producing kind of grew out of the screenwriting, and I still do both, and I enjoy both a lot. And got to work with some really
Really?
amazing filmmakers, especially on the indie side of things, and a couple international films and so forth. So
I
yeah,
have been looking at your IMDb, and it's everything I want to review, by the way. Like, all your titles are like, "Oh, how do I not see this one?" Like, I wanna review all these, and it's wonderful. I have a couple questions about screenwriting, from directing to screenwriting again, back to producing, because I also I have a screenplay. You want to see it? No. I also have done the screenwriting thing for, doctoring or doing whatever scripts. Do
Mhm.
you write with a budget in mind? Because you know
Mhm.
what it takes
Mhm.
to be a producer and director. You're like, oh my God, I can't have this like car explosion here. What the hell's wrong with me?
I absolutely do. I write
Yeah.
in terms of locations and the amount of them, the
Yes.
night shoots versus the day shoots.
Okay.
So I am a very I like to think of myself as a very producer friendly, production friendly, thoughtful screenwriter in
Right.
that aspect because figuring out how to tell this story with less so that all the money is on the screen, if that makes any sense. Because a
No,
lot
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. We've seen some movies with budgets that I won't announce the movie. We're like, yeah, we blew up a helicopter. I'm like, that was your entire budget.
yeah,
You
yeah,
blew up what? That's one shot. You're done. The
yeah.
entire budget. Everything else was like, craft service was a bottle of water. It's like, here you go. Here's a bottle of water. Good
Yeah,
luck.
maybe a cookie.
Yeah, maybe. But it's actually an airline cookie. They flew over and like stole some.
Right,
Yeah,
from
it's.
Southwest.
But that's an amazing, right? It's amazing. It's inspirational. Really, you got that push, and I'm wondering, because she pushed you, is that why you also want to produce, giving people a little bit their own push?
Yeah, and I don't know if you know the actress Felissa Rose, who was in
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
She was the sole reason to get me into we she and I we've hung out a few times and I've produced a lot of her films and have been in some of her stuff as a voice actor. But we met, gosh, probably it was a year and a half ago, I think it was. And I had done some producing up to that point, but we had a conversation about it and she really encouraged me to do more. And so I
right,
jumped into a couple projects she was a part of. So I really am grateful to her. But then she is exactly what you just talked about. I don't know if you've ever interviewed her, but she is the epitome of pay it forward in a really beautiful way. And so she's all about connecting people and like really encourage, like seeing something in
right.
somebody and saying this is what you need to do more of. Like she's kind of like an unofficial life coach. I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but and I had that conversation with her and it was very transformative. And that's when I really like rolled up my sleeves and was like, yes, I really need to do more of this. But I think the producing definitely informs the screenwriting, and the screenwriting
Right.
informs the producing in a really nice way. They balance each other.
Now I have to, because I know some people listening right now, I have to make a clarification. This is Felissa Rose, the person who might be looking at the penis inspectors for the last drive-in with Joe Bob Briggs. Is that the
Yeah.
same
Yes, the sleepaway camp,
sleepaway camp, Felissa Rose?
scream
That's what I thought.
queen, horror icon, legend,
That's
beautiful
what
person.
I'm like, yeah, I think we've seen
Yeah.
Felissa before.
No, she's an amazing human being, truly one of the
Absolutely.
nicest people in the industry and with a big heart. And I just absolutely adore her. But she really encouraged me to continue to explore that. And so, within that time, I think I've worked on 30 films because of her encouragement. So
Well, as right as both of you should. I believe she, by encouraging you, made
mhm.
a lot of other art come to being through you, and I
Mm,
love it. I
yeah.
I can almost go through, if I read your titles out loud, all my people are like, "Yeah, no, I want to see this." Like, I'm not going to say Attack the Corn Zombies. That
Yeah.
sounds
Well,
so freaking cool.
yeah, it's a great. That's Acrostar Films, who's a wonderful. They are producing a lot of cool. It's sort of a little bit of a throwback to those 1950s sci-fi drive-in
Right.
classics. Like
Oh, man.
all those great like Roger Corman kind of early produced on a shoestring budget with all the money into the creature. So yeah, but I love Acrostar for that reason because they're producing that kind of film, and it's so interesting and it's needed, in the horror landscape, and then it's
It
kind of
is.
like old horror meets new horror in a really cool way. So yeah.
And that's what I really like about your work. It
Hmm.
is a lot of things that, Haunted MTL believes in,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it is coming from this honest to God. When you're reading this on the screen, I'm talking to you. I'm like, okay, you really live this. You really love this genre. You are into helping people out. You're what the movie and entertainment industry needs the most.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. Oh, anytime. I know I'm like gushing right now. And I have to say, as a fellow person from Chicago who's probably seen that theater, I was
Yeah.
asking for directions, but
Yeah. If you're from Chicago, I'm sure you know it well. Yeah,
yeah.
not far from Western Avenue. That helps
Oh,
you know
yeah.
it.
It's like I'm like that's a small world.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
you have this great career in the film industry, and you're like, I want to make books.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you shift your brain into that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because I mean, it's all storytelling when you think about it, but it's different form. And I think that's, if I ever have a struggle, it's coming up with an idea and a creative idea and then going, okay, what's the form to tell this in? Is this a poem? Is this a novel? Is this,
Right.
and sometimes I try it in a different form first and then go, it doesn't, this is not working. And so then I'll move over. So I think that's kind of one of the advantages of working in different genres and different forms, different,
Right.
screenplays, all the different things I do. But, all of it at the end of the day is just connected to storytelling. And I think at the end of the day, I'm so lucky to be able to
Yeah.
tell stories in different formats and different genres, and that the audiences and the readers show up for those things in those different formats and genres. But it is kind of a little bit of a hat switch, a little bit of a creativity switch. I find the novels are take a lot more out of me than the screenplays. I think just because of the way that they're written, and that there's so much research sometimes with a novel and so
Yes.
much revision. Not to say I don't revise screenplays, but the revision process, the editing process
It's
alone in a novel,
different.
it's very, very taxing. So it's a
Yes.
labor of love.
It is for those that especially for a screenplay. You can get away with some stuff on a screenplay because eventually the studio who's making it is going to make their own decision, and then
For
you're not going
sure.
to see the screenplay itself.
Yeah.
Novels, not so much. That
Mhm.
is what people see. That
Yeah.
is the product. That's what it has to be, very polished. And I'm looking at some of their genres right now.
Hmm.
Just a little haunted.
Yeah.
The mystery. We've been talking about cozy, so I need to know a little
Yeah.
bit about this.
It's my
It's
first it's
horror.
my first cozy, and it's like outsold everything that, of course, right? Like the one
Cozy's
thing
a
that you
hit.
do is so we're actually, so just a little haunted start. It's a series. That's the first one in a series, and the rest of the series hasn't come out yet. And I came up with this really fun character, Stella Sabatino, who's a parapsychologist investigator. And has, this,
Oh
a
my
sassy cat, of course, because you have to have a sassy
god. Of
cat in
course.
court
Yeah, yeah.
industry, and a great assistant and so forth. And she's an American living in the UK, and is while she's grieving the death of her husband, which is still kind of a little bit of a mysterious death, so backstory, parallel story. She's serving as this. She's going into these places that people claim are haunted to prove that they aren't. And so it's just kind of a fun thing. I did it kind of as a side project, and then it literally blew up, and I was like, who knew? Who knew? So, just a little Haunted's getting expanded into
Right.
a full length novel,
Oh,
and
cool.
I've committed to 3 of those books in the next year. So
It's wonderful. I just got back talking about this, so it's really fresh in my mind, especially the cozy. I
yeah.
look at the cover. I love the colors. I
Mm.
love the way she's looking at the house. Everything is centered perfectly. The font is spot on. It's a short story mystery, and your name underneath it. It reminds me of a great poster for a movie.
Oh,
Like one of
thank
the
you.
old the throwbacks. For those who don't know, movie posters go through like revisions every so often, and there's
Mhm.
just style revisions themselves. And this fits. It's so warm and yet it's spooky. It's Halloween.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
It really
it's
is really
devout. Yeah.
Halloween.
And I can't take any credit for the cover. I work with an amazing cover designer named James, who runs a company called Go On Right, like WRITE,
Right?
in the UK. And I've worked with him for years, and he does great work all the time, and really nice guy to work with.
Well, this is amazing, and I like the differences of the things you write. I'm looking at
Marketing, the branding.
everything is there. Everything is there. But I have to ask,
Hmm.
Souvenir Boys,
Yes.
a collection of poetry. So you're even doing a poetry book,
Yes, I have.
right?
I just finished my. It hasn't come out yet, but I just finished my 3rd poetry collection. It's
Wow.
called Walking in the Underground. It won't come out till next fall. of 2025. But yeah, poetry was one of my first loves. Again, a great teacher. A teacher knew I was interested in writing and put a
Right.
book in my hand called The Country Between Us by Carolyn Forche when I was a very young undergrad at a community college. And I read it cover to cover multiple times and said, yeah, I want to be a poet. I want to write poetry. Of course, early poetry was really bad poetry, but I think every poet would say that. But
Yeah.
I love poetry because of the brevity of language within poetry, of writing in a sense of rhythm. It gives
Right.
your language a musicality. And I use all of that in other forms of writing too. So I think poetry is like my purest form of writing in terms of
Really?
technicalities, technical writing, I guess, if you will, like learning the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
And then I just use that in other places. But I don't write the poetry as much as the other things, not because I don't love it, but just it's harder to fit in sometimes. And it's a completely different market and a completely different world,
Oh,
right?
no,
Yeah.
I bet it is. I bet it is. And I'm wondering, because you do have this love for poetry, does that, and you bring it into other things, does that affect your rhythm for dialogue?
Dialogue is my favorite. So I will tell
Right.
you, Jim, that I am a professional eavesdropper. So
Aren't we all?
I get so many stories from going to Target, and
That's
watching parenting happen in front of me. But
yes.
no, I just there's so many stories out there. I feel like just a story. I'm a satellite, really. I'm a story
Right.
detective, and I just hear it. Dialogue is such it's probably why I'm driven or driven like to or appealed stage plays and screenplays are so appealing to
Right.
me because they're so dialogue driven. I feel like as a writer that dialogue is my strong suit. And I feel like I just get the way that people talk authentically to each other that translate well for the reading or viewing experience. But yes, to answer your question, the poetry has definitely strengthened the dialogue because of all of those elements of poetry that are
I think
alive and
so.
good dialogue.
Yeah, I think so. I think some of the best ways to really get in your creative juices is to go into poetry, and then back in the day, it would be what's not gonna name this new name, but Twitter made people write more succinctly. How many
Yeah,
characters I get? Like, how do I say
right.
this? You know, it really made your dialogue more punchy because you had to do it in that short form. Now, if you were gonna give the younger version of you some advice
Mm.
as someone looking back on a pretty decent, amazingly career and multiple genres, what would be the advice you give?
Um, Choose your battles carefully. No,
Really?
my immediate instinct with this is going to sound horrible and so Hollywood, but like have a good attorney. No, I was gonna,
True. That's
I
true
was
though.
gonna say, I think, this is probably the teacher in me speaking. I would have this conversation with myself, which I did study writing. I just was late to the studying of writing.
Right.
I had to, made the choice to go back in the middle of my career in LA to finish grad school and so forth. Very glad that I did. No regrets there. I think it would to continue to study the craft and just know the more you know about those mechanics we talked about earlier, the
Yeah.
better the writing will be. And to stick to your guns. You know your story better than anybody else will, and your story is going to matter to you more than it's going to matter to anybody else. And
That's great
also
advice.
too, I feel like looking back because I'm kind of at this more like retrospective part of, and the other side of the career kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can look back and see, taking those brave choices with content and telling the story that you wanted to read as a young person. Somebody
Yeah.
had asked me once, it was another author. I was teaching at a low residency program, and she said, do you write for you or do you write for the younger version of you? And I thought, yeah, I do. I write for the younger version of myself. So keeping in touch with that younger version of self, like you were talking about, like going back and telling the younger self, what advice would you give? Um, and just, it's such an interesting life in so many. It's so unconventional. It's, that's not the 9 to 5. It's not the way you measure successes is really up to you. There's no sort of prescribed formula of this is,
Right.
I mean, of course, there's the accolades and all those benchmark kind of things, but for your own personal journey is to really determine what those levels of success are for you. And then when you meet them, to really celebrate them for yourself, because a lot of hard work went into getting
Yeah, and
there.
that's what people sometimes miss, that is the
Yeah.
celebration. It's okay to celebrate
And you
your
should.
success. Yeah, and no one else is going to, trust me.
Right? Exactly. I mean,
You
you could
might as
have
well.
a 30-second dance party in your living room.
Yeah, and that's it doesn't have to be like, you get a cupcake and that's it, man. It's
Right.
go on. And that's the thing. It's a lot of people try to say, like, well, especially today's consumer oriented, everyone's the instant celebrity for 15 minutes.
Right.
Like, oh, I didn't have like 3 million likes on my Instagram. I'm a failure. Like, no,
Mhm.
no, you're not a failure for that. You need to define your level. If that's your level of success, then go for it. But your level of success, what's going to make you happy as a creator? Be true to your story, because there's a lot of people who want to change it. And the thing is, it's not their
Mhm.
story; it's your story.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, it's
love when you
very
say,
true.
like, someone as successful as you and as accomplished as you, saying, "Don't change your story. Be
Mhm.
true to that." That's an amazing piece of advice, and I love it.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna follow up with this out of nowhere. Voice acting. How'd you get into that?
Voice
I
acting.
know.
Oh
I told you out
gosh.
of nowhere.
No, no, no. It's
But
a
what
great
again?
thing. So, okay, so during the pandemic, like everybody else, I had a lot of time on my hands, right?
Yeah.
And a really wonderful actress named Nancy Sullivan, who was known for like Josh and Drake from Nickelodeon,
Yeah.
was offering a voice class for animation. And
Oh.
I had done some acting in the past, and I had a couple people like, "Oh, your voice would be great for voiceover," kind of stuff. And I'm like, "Oh, whatever." So I took this class, and then I just fell in love with it. And then a casting director friend of mine was, I took the class, and then the pandemic, and then it was
Yeah.
kind of just forgotten about. And then a casting director friend of mine, she reached out, and I had posted something. I had done some video on TikTok or something, and she's like, "Your voice would be really good for this project. Can I submit you?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Sure." So she's like, "Record this, do this." So I sent her everything she wanted. And then she called me back. She's like, "I got you booked for 3 movies." And I was like, "What?
Oh my
What?"
god.
And so it just kind of like opened up this whole new door. It was kind of like Pandora's box a little bit, opened up this whole new world to me. And I just finished doing the voiceover this week for my 15th feature film.
That's amazing.
It's a lot of like newscaster, radio caller, the sassy best friend.
This
Like,
passive best
but
friend. I
it's
love it. I love
fun.
it.
It's fun. I have a little like home studio, and I go in there
Oh,
and record stuff, and then it's all digital and remote. It's so perfect. You don't have to go to set, and
right.
you just record it and send that file to the whoever, the producer, director, whoever asked for it. And you do multiple takes and all that kind of stuff, so they have choices, and then you hear your voice in a project, and it's really fun. And I worked a lot with SRS Cinema, and you're probably familiar with them because of
Yeah.
all the horror stuff that you do.
Yeah.
But and they've been great to work with, and have been very collaborative in that way. So, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, it's kind of it was a side project that turned into something a little bit bigger. So, and I just kind of, when that happens, and I think everybody does, just go with it, because you never know where it's going to take you.
No, you never do. And especially during the pandemic, we're like, oh, we're making movies. We're not making anything. How about
Right.
my TV show? You can't go in people's houses
Right.
during the pandemic. Like, oh, voice. You can still do voice. You can
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
like, someone's going to animate and you're going to do the voiceovers. You're going to do the commercial. You're going to do everything else. And I think right now, the internet's still the equalizer of, please do correct me if I'm wrong. But what I'm hearing is you no longer have to do the cattle calls where you go to the location, you read it off, and it gets back to you. You can just like submit up, send it through the website.
Yeah.
They get back to you, great. Otherwise, keep rocking and rolling. Put your portfolio up online so people can listen to you or see your stuff.
Yeah.
It's become a little more friendly if you want to market that way. Yes?
For sure. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the entire industry has had to shift. And I think some of those shifts that happened during the pandemic they found that it's in terms of cost, in terms of, workload, in terms of everything. I
You're
think
right.
I mean, it's happened to a lot of industries when you think about it, but what's left behind is like what you were saying, everything's so digital now, and especially in voice acting, because it's all about, MP3 files,
Yeah.
so, and which, as you were stating, the technology makes it all possible now. So, I've been able to work on 15 films from, my bedroom
I
and
love
my
that.
home studio without ever leaving my house. It's,
That's
it's
amazing.
an introvert's dream come true when you think about it. But yeah, no, and I think that it's going to continue to happen. I think that acting, film acting and television acting, and especially with all the things that have happened recently with unions and so forth, has
Yeah.
really revolutionized. I mean, the way that we go about casting and producing and filming even has changed completely. So, I mean, yeah, it's rare that things are being even shot on film nowadays. So it's definitely transformed in so many ways. It's a very fast moving industry on that in that way that just things are constantly changing. The way we're producing things changes a lot. So
Oh, the way we consume things, and like
yeah.
you're saying, the way we record things. I remember when Danny Boyle's film came out because he was the
Mm.
big, digital release on the big screen, and people were like, "Oh, it's gonna look like crap. It's digital."
Mhm.
It looked fantastic,
Very pristine. Yeah.
and I
Uh,
was like, "Whoa!" Now I'm seeing like movies that were done by two iPhones. That
yeah.
was it. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm so excited about filmmaking is those people who do those first time things that
Yeah,
change everything that comes after those pioneers that you just got to give props to those folks because it takes somebody to come in and be like, but wait, let's try it this way, and then they prove it to be successful, and then everybody follows suit. But I admire those people, those risk takers that jump in there and say, nope,
right.
let's try it this way, and then they prove us right or wrong, and it's a really cool thing to
We
see.
need them. We
Yeah.
need them, and we need more people like you. We honestly do. It's been wonderful. I said we're going to 20 minutes. It's already past 30. My fault. Usually I like
No,
give them
you're
the
good.
high
This has
sign.
been a great time. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
I appreciate it. What are you working on? I know this might come out sometime in October
Yeah.
before Halloween. What are you working on now? What are you working on now?
Um, so I just finished a couple of screenplays. One is called Scare Me, Kill Me, and it's out on
Nice.
submission right now. It's a
Oh,
throwback to the 1980s slasher flicks, set in a boarding school in the middle of
really?
nowhere, and it's all about
Oh,
a game, sort of a truth and dare gone wrong.
oh my god.
That's out right now on submission, so hopefully we hear back on that soon. And I'm working on a really fun horror screenplay right now called Executive about a very lonely office worker who finds a portal in her office building, like sort of a time travel portal to another sort of existence parallel life where she's the executive.
Oh
And
god.
to maintain that lifestyle, she is required to kill people in her current lifetime. So it's sort of a serial
I
killer,
love
female
it.
serial killer gone office worker. So
I mean,
it's definitely a hybrid project, but
yeah,
my beta readers have really been liking it. So I think I'm in good shape
it's
there. So,
fantastic. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, like, I would be like, I don't know, maybe.
yeah.
And then once you start doing one, yeah, you're doing
Right.
one.
Yeah. It's kind of
Why
an
not two?
addiction.
Yeah.
Right. For sure. It's like a tattoo. So
Don't, oh yeah,
you
I'm like
don't
cover
have
up
any,
right
but
now.
that's what I've been told. So yeah, for sure. So yeah,
Just
and I have on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I have a urban dance romance novel coming out in February
no
called
way.
Fast Beat, which has been a lot of fun to write. So it's a sweet
Really?
love story. So set in Chicago.
So, Eric, you got me. You got me. You said anything Chicago, except for apparently a football team. But actually, they're doing better. It's been a long decade or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have me. Chicago, I'm there. And this is why I love your background. I love talking to you because we went from the slasher throwback to the let's kill someone to be rich,
Yeah.
the intergenre, and to the urban.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
dance.
no, thank you. It makes for an interesting day always.
It has to. It has to. Where can they find you on social media?
I'm all over social media. So Wren Valentino everywhere, Instagram. Please, if you're a writer that I can help in some way, never hesitate to reach out. I'm all about pay it forward. Happy to connect you with resources if I can. So renvalentino.com is my website. All the things that are there that you would need to connect.
Amazing, 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 amazing. And not because I'm just feeling generous, but I really do love these mysteries. So for the first five people, just a little haunted a Stella Sabantino mystery. If you contact me through socials, it will get to your door on us.
Oh, yay. Yeah,
Five
thank you.
copies on us. So I want to spread this love, and it's really a great thing to do. Just take it out and read. We all need more reading.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for
Absolutely.
this and for what you do.
Well, thank you for appearing. And as always, thanks for everything. And I hope to see you soon. And always feel free to drop us a line. And remember, it's all been fun until you get lost in a corn maze and you got some zombies chasing after you. I'm guessing is that the book? Not the book. That's the film.
Movie, yeah.
Oh, that's the movie. I knew it. Thanks, everyone. Bye.